But first, our top story and our top debate, student politics at one of India's most historic centres for learning, Presidency University, Kolkata. Students locked out the Vice-Chancellor for failing to get their accommodation repaired.
Never in its 200-year history has Presidency seen such a dismal convocation. Locked out of campus by students, the Vice-Chancellor forced to hold the prestigious event at a small state-run cinema hall, and she could not hide her anger.
It is anarchy.
And your message to them?
Stop being anarchists. Be students.
Not a single student was present, not even the 750 who were to get their degrees, much to the discomfort of the two eminent persons awarded doctorates of literature.
They should be level-headed and sit down with the teachers and the Vice-Chancellor, who is so rational, to find out a very rational solution to their problem.
I think we should, I don't believe in friction and all that. I think we should get along. Otherwise, there's no future for us.
Trouble was brewing over a hostel that the Vice-Chancellor claims students had failed to get repaired in the last 3 years. And the students deny any link between their hostel protest and the convocation.
As much as we want the Hindu hostel boarders to get the Hindu hostel, we would also want our degrees to be at our hands by today.
You promised us again and again, and you are refusing. So we are still continuing our stay in protest, and that's all for now.
The dismal convocation may really be a symptom of problems that ail Presidency. Problems like a high attrition among teachers and the unprecedented fact that seats at Presidency University are going vacant these days. In Kolkata with G.D. Shankar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
So what's happening to one of India's oldest, one of India's finest, at least by reputation, universities, colleges? Joining us now to look at this, Saugata Roy, the Lok Sabha MP of the Trinamool Congress. Thanks so very much for being with us. Aishwarya Prakash Joshi is a student who is involved in the protests and joins us now as well. Ranjan Bhattacharya, the political analyst, with me in the studio. Fahud Halim, the CPM spokesperson, joins me, as does Amit Chaudhary, Associate Director at HCL, who's been watching these developments very closely indeed. Aishwarya, let me come to you first. In just a few months from now, these hostel facilities were going to be fixed. So why did all of you get so impatient? Why could you wait no longer? Bring your university into disrepute like this.
Yeah. So first of all, the promise that has been made by the Vice-Chancellor that we will give you the hostel back in next 4 to 5 months, and why we do not agree to it, and why we have become so impatient, is because of the protests, the silent protests and pleadings that we did before the Vice-Chancellor for last 2 years. And the university hostel was not given to the students after it was vacated in June 2015, and the university administration was supposed to give the hostel back after 11 months, which is in May 2016. Since 2016, we have submitted our pleadings before the Vice-Chancellor, before the registrar, and every concerned authority in the university, and we have got no response so far. So it is not like that we have become impatient. We have sacrificed everything, our time, our money, our energy. We are sitting there and we are fighting for the hostel. And there's a reason. Impatient does not come in like just because of one stray incident. It's a consistent effort on the part of administration.
All right, I get the point that you're trying to make. I understand what you're trying to say, that you are not being impatient. A lot of people would say that if it was actually, the Vice-Chancellor and others have gone on record saying it's just a few months before this would have been repaired, but you still have chosen to make that the large campus essentially a home. People are sleeping outside. Shogoto Roy, I mean, I believe you're an alumnus yourself of Presidency College, Presidency University. How do you see these protests? Is it bringing disrepute to what was one of India's finest institutions, or do you find that these students have something justified?
I do not think that there is any justification for what the students are doing. I am, of course, old. I graduated from Presidency College 51 years ago. And then I studied postgraduate through Presidency College. The question centers around 150 boarders of Hindu Hostel who were asked to vacate and provided alternative accommodation. All right. The authority has slipped up on its promise of getting the hostel repaired by 2016 May. We know that in government things take time and there are slippages. But that is no justification for locking out the principal for
the Vice Chancellor, yeah.
Vice Chancellor out of the university. There is no logic in disrupting the convocation and preventing students from going there. The convocation had to be held in not a cinema hall. It's an auditorium run by the state government, and where eminent people like the scientists C.N.R. Rao and Soumitra Chatterjee were being awarded doctorate degrees. It brings to my mind the old history of Presidency College in our times, when the principal was locked out of the college for days together by then left and Naxalite students. They heaped the same sort of humiliation on the principal then as the students, so-called. They belong to Independent Consolidation, I don't know.
Okay.
There's no such organization in our time. And I do not know what their political leanings are, but it's absolutely ridiculous to make the issue of accommodation of 150 students a reason to disrupt
the entire university
and
the working of the entire university and we'll talk about that convocation, sir, in a moment. But Amit Chaudhary, do come in over here. Aishwarya, I know you want to say something. I'll come back to you. Amit Chaudhary, sitting far away from Presidency University, when one sees something like this, I mean, it just seems that what Mr. Roy is saying is absolutely correct. Why should anybody just hold an entire university to ransom? Why should the Vice Chancellor not be allowed to go in? What gives anybody the right to take the law into their own hands? What about the thousands of other students who deserve an education?
See, what we see today in Presidency University is an outcome of the anarchy which is going on in the university over the last few years. It is not a stray incident. If you really want to understand the problem of Eden Hindu Hostel, then you have to look at the bigger picture if you really want to understand the situation. Over the last few years under the present regime, this 200-old educational institute of prominence has been, it's been continuously ruined academically, culturally, as well as aesthetically.
How is that the case?
Let's take example of each one of them academically.
All right, Mr. Chaudhary, I'll just ask you to fix your camera because your camera is moving all over the place. If you can just keep that on your, and I'll come back to you in a moment. But let me go across to Mr. Halim first. Mr. Halim, the point which Amit Chaudhary was making is that he alleges that in the last few years, the quality of education at colleges and universities in West Bengal, particularly Presidency at this stage, is deteriorating. He makes a point that it's happening because of this administration. Are there politics at all attached with the protests which are taking place now, or is this essentially just student politics?
Well, definitely he is touching upon the larger contours of how education is actually evolving here in West Bengal. But, over here there is a very focused question that the students have raised, and you have to appreciate the exceptional solidarity which the student community has expressed today. one has to keep in mind, you might want to have a reductionist point of view that is just a matter of a few hundred students who will occupy the hostel, but one also has to see the picture that all the 750 students who were graduating expressed their total and absolute solidarity with those who were protesting. Now, one has to understand that within a college, an infrastructure in totality does not only reflect the academic situation, that there's the laboratories, the classrooms, the infrastructure that you have in imparting knowledge, but it's also the hostel and the other thing. So if the hostel is not in place, and Saugata Rai makes a very benign way of trying to create an alibi for the government, that in government work there are slippages. If the government itself is trying to justify slippages and then expect that the student community is going to take it lying down, then I think so that's a most unfortunate understanding as to how patient the students have been. They were supposed to get the hostel in 2016. They have not got it as yet till 2018. They were given date after date. All the dates have failed. Even in the last date that was given for July this year has been defaulted on. And each and every time the argument that the slippage is coming about, I think so it's the most unfortunate way in which the present day government is treating the students in West Bengal. And
all right, okay. I just want to get a quick reaction. I want to get a quick reaction, in fact, from Ranjan Bhattacharya at this stage. Mr. Bhattacharya, we are talking about presidency, but if you look at what's been happening in West Bengal over the last couple of months, there have been so many protests which have been taking place. There's been a protest at the Calcutta Medical College Hospital. There's been a protest at Jadavpur University. There have been 2 protests that I'm aware of at Presidency College as well. Is there this culture of protests which is now seeming to gaining ground under this particular administration in West Bengal? Is there a greater environment which tolerates student protests?
Well, to start with, let me tell you about the Presidency College cum University, which has its history for 200 years, where there never has happened like this. In a convocation, the students are not participating and they are not getting their certificates, and the number are not less than 750. Yes. What I am trying to tell you is simply that the best university of the country, Presidency College and the university, is being demeaned, and they are purposely a section of people not within the college or the university. My strong feeling is there is some outside power, or
no, but what political force are you
that's
talking
what I am
about?
saying.
Which party? Name it.
It may be the Communist Party, it may be the BJP, it may be any other opposition party other than the ruling party over there. The reason I can give you that when the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal is trying to upgrade
Aishwarya, half a second, I'll come to you next.
When the Chief Minister is trying to, and have done successfully, upgraded the university to actually Presidency College has upgraded to university.
Yes.
Now this university, she tried to bring best talented educationists to take over
and
the responsibility.
And you feel that process is being hurt by these protests?
Not only that, the students should really understand and realize their sense of responsibility.